To win a MotoGP World Championship, it helps to have power, agility and perfect race strategy. To win 5, it helps to be Mick Doohan.
It didn't really bother me if I was first in the first turn or I was 10th. I knew the race was, 45 minutes, 50 minutes long. As long as I was at the front at the end, that was all that counted. I knew that I could be consistent, and that, I think, was my biggest strategy. A lot of guys can't do that, and that was, I think, the key to my success.
In a sport where accidents are just around the corner, Mick achieved success the hard way. A major crash at Assen in 1992 nearly ended his racing career.
I knew that with some of my injuries, perhaps I couldn't get back to the same level, but if I knew if I could get somewhere near it, then perhaps I could win again, and perhaps the dream of a world title would be a reality.
At the beginning of the 1994 season, Mick lined up at the grid more determined than ever. He clinched the first of 9 victories that season at the Malaysian Grand Prix.
When you get to that point of actually thinking that you can actually win a world championship, you're competing for a world championship and then achieving it, I think that definitely that's the high point. But certainly there was plenty of high points all the way through the career, but, achieving the first world championship is always a bonus.
At the Czech Republic Grand Prix, he finally sealed his first world championship and claimed his place in motorcycling history. Winning his second world title in 1995 at the Argentinian Grand Prix, Doohan continued to stand above all opposition.
I wouldn't think there was one guy I really had to beat. I had to beat everybody. So I had to work harder than these guys, mentally, physically. But it was also interesting not knowing who was going to be the challenge for next year. Every year there'd be a different challenger, it seemed.
In 1996, it was teammate Alex Greville that launched the attack. Doohan managed to tame the Spaniard for his 3rd World Championship, but not without controversy.
In Spain earlier in the year, it was his Grand Prix, and where the crowd actually came onto the track, and then he lost his concentration on the last lap. The commentator of the race had told the crowd that Alex Greville had just won the race, but there was still 1 lap to go. He lost his concentration. I took advantage of that. I overtook him with 1 corner to go. He crashed trying to recover from it, and I think that stuck in his mind that he's not going to let me win my home Grand Prix.
In Australia, his battle with Greville continued in spectacular fashion.
We were running good, and we did touch a couple of times on the lap, or even on that lap, but throughout the Grand Prix. And then it got to the point I picked up the speed for the last lap, as I was doing a lot in that year.
I will survive in Mama 5, in Mama 5, I will survive. I will survive in Mama 5, in Mama 5, I will survive.
He could catch me there throughout the Grand Prix in that corner, but in that lap I'd pick the pace up. And I braked later, so then when he braked, there was no way he was going to stop. As I'm starting to turn in the corner, he ran into the back of me. We both crashed. Another rider from another team won. It wasn't the best result for our team. But honestly, I was quite upset also because it was the Australian Grand Prix. You lean on me. No, you weren't. I was on the inside. But in the end of the day, it's racing. We're both competitive.
In 1997, Doohan tore apart the record books. In one season, he totaled 12 Grand Prix victories, 12 pole positions, and a record 340 Grand Prix points.
In '97, I decided I needed another strategy. I changed the bike a little bit different than what the other guys could ride. I went for a different engine, which was a little bit more difficult. Mainly to mess with their heads more than anything. The machine had the same power. Just made the power differently, and the other guys found it difficult to ride. That worked perfectly because that year it was sort of my best season.
As he comes into the last corner, he waves again. But of course, all it means is that Simon Crowbar is closing.
A momentous fifth successive World Championship was achieved at Phillip Island in front of his home fans. Retiring the following season, it was the perfect finish to a legendary career.